G'day everyone, and welcome yourselves back to War Thunder. Now, I don't usually like to chime in on current events going in the game, considering that I'm on my break for about 6.5 years of playing War Thunder, and I've never really taken even a week or a few days off from War Thunder, apart from recent. Well, that's not what we're here to talk about. Today, I have several questions for Gaijin. Relates to balance, relates to short-term goals as well as long-term goals, and I wish that things in War Thunder would be, getting better. Of course, what on earth are you going on about now? Well, I wouldn't make a War Thunder video specifically about War Thunder unless it was something quite drastic. Now, what have they done? Well, if you haven't catched the last major dev blog, in the news, it is Challenger 2 and Rank 7 armoured vehicles. It seems that what they've done is they're hyping up their new vehicle assets, so to speak, and they've foregone everything to go with Rank 6 aviation. They probably will update things, but this presents many concerns, especially when we're talking about a game that has many areas that are not necessarily finished, but certainly need work in terms of polish, and there are holes in a lot of tech trees. For example, where are all the helicopter nations? Not every nation has helicopters, not every nation has ships, and I get that they'll add these over time. But with the advent of supersonic jets as well, we only saw 2.5 supersonic jets added to War Thunder. This is a problem, because where are the other supersonic jets that the other nations were supposed to get as well? Are we going to receive them this patch? Or is the main focus of this patch to drive Rank 6 premiums into War Thunder? That way they can charge $80 to $100 for, a few premiums. And I know a few people who certainly would buy out those particular vehicles. So there are quite a number of questions. Update 1.87 is set to introduce many main battle tanks, current ones with Chobham armor and many more. The fact that they've introduced the Challenger 2, does this mean we're going to get the Leopard 2? Does this mean we're going to get the M1A 2 with the, I can't even remember, it's the improved Abrams with the 120mm gun on it? Does this mean that we're going to see the Italian Ariete, or we're going to see an improved Air Raid Type 90 with a different shell? There are many questions, including what is going on within game balance currently. So, it is quite easy to hate on Gaijin, and we know that the Leopard 2A5, the April Fool's Leopard, is going to be introduced into the game. Well, we don't know that for certain. There are a lot of variables that indicate that we're going to get a Type 90. We're going to get the T-90, the Russian main battle tank. We're going to get, other fancy things. Does this mean that we're going to get, supersonic jets that go Mach 2, for example? Stuff like the F4 Phantom and the MiG-21 and the Electric English Lightning. Does this mean we're going to get the Vulcan, the B-36 or the B-52? Are we going to get more Cold War era stuff? Or is this just going to be another case of Gaijin looking for another cash grab? Now, I'm quite concerned. I'm an aviation guy first, and not necessarily a tanker. I was so pleased that Rank 6 came to War Thunder that I think this is really absurd. Gaijin keeps pumping out, I don't want to say half-assed ranks and modules, but it seems like the potential for the game to be better than it is could be. And with the current state of Rank 6 for most nations, with the state and balance of helicopters, with the implications that Rank 7 proceeds, I can't really think that this stuff will lead to an absurd amount of power creep, and it's not even going to be funny. T6 tanks will probably be their most capable rounds added, which will lead Rank 5 tanks to be even more useless. And let's not mention the fact that there are holes in existing tech trees with helicopters, naval, game modes, balances, You know, where was this quality of life patch that Gaijin had been promising for so long? So, and there's also rank 6 premiums, which will be just rank 7s in disguise, like they did with the rank 5 premiums for tanks and for, well, aircraft. So, you know, there are a lot of issues here, and I feel like I'm not dissing the idea of rank 7. It just bothers me that Gaijin is not really taking care of the health of the existing game before adding external and more modules to the game that is really needed at the current time. Now, you can actually trace back to the moment when they went off filling existing trees and focusing on fixing, you know, certain issues within the game. When they introduced the XM1. So, you've got issues like this, and the fact that, well, there are many complications when it comes to adding new existing systems, considering that we don't exactly know, for example with the Challenger 2, what the Chobham armor is really made of, or what its effective thickness is. There are several things that can go wrong. Is Gaijin going to ad-lib and possibly take, you know, liberty in making up numbers for certain vehicles? As we get more and more close to the modern era, things start crumbling. Not every nation has an equivalent of another nation's vehicles, and in the end, majority of countries either go with Russian equipment or with American equipment. So you're looking at a mixture of componentry, unless you're Britain and France, which in that case, that's a different story altogether, but it's sort of, there's no end goal. Every nation will have an Abrams, every nation will have, except for Britain, every nation will have their specific vehicles, and this doesn't really address the gameplay or balance. Also, I find it odd that it's rank 7. I get that introducing a new tier of vehicles separates the gap between existing rank 6s and rank 5s. But wasn't the point of removing the tiers 1 to 20 system that was back at 1.35 not to introduce more and more tiers as you go? I understand, Gaijin, that armoured warfare is basically dead. I understand you want a part of that market share considering it is very popular. But there are other ways at which you could introduce these vehicles into game, particularly introducing separate tech trees or separate modes where newer players can come and then grind from that particular period onwards. I don't know. There are plenty of community suggestions out there with such. Interestingly, does Tier 7 mean that all the Tier 6 premiums in the game are worthless, and we'll have to spend $80 on the upcoming Tier 6 premiums? Now, this was a question asked just underneath the dev blog, and Smin1080p, an administrator for Gaijin, said a lot of the Tier 5 premiums will be moved to Tier 6. More details in the news soon. So, this is a massive move for Gaijin. But I honestly think it's the wrong one for the game. Long-term sustainability-wise, you're talking many issues. Personally, I was hoping and have been waiting years to hear about an existing rework of the game modes that would make the game worth playing, and they just never show up. The promises of enduring confrontation and better squadron battles and World War mode are just eye candy and shiny bits and pieces. And we've had community better run events by Weeby and on Fly Daily's server, where he runs custom events that are custom made that suit the maps correctly. Of course, then there's map design. There are so many issues and things that I'd like Gaijin to focus on. It's beyond me. Am I excited for the new stuff? Yes, because who doesn't want an F4 Phantom? Who doesn't want a Vulcan? Who doesn't want an A10? But at the end of the day, there's got to be some level of adding other stuff to other tech trees in order to fill out existing issues. The community is divided enough as is when it comes to what's their favourite vehicle and why they don't have this. So in my opinion, it'd be good to fill out the existing tech trees and focus on fixing the game at hand. Anyway, that's enough of a rant. Thank you very much for watching. My name's Ash, and I'll catch you in the next one.